Hi everyone, we talk a lot about intermittent fasting here on our channel, and Keith has used that as a strategy when he lost his 80 pounds with keto and intermittent fasting. But we get so many comments from you guys about intermittent fasting, we wanted to tackle the very basics. So in this video, we're going to talk about what is fasting exactly.
Right.
So hi everybody, welcome Dr. Becky and Dr. Keith, Two Fit Docs.
Two Fit Docs.
And we made that one video we did made quite a splash, the definitive test one.
A lot of comments.
Yeah. So we did a test, and we'll link to it here, where we tested the reaction of our ketones and glucose after consuming keto coffee ingredients, so MCT oil, cream, and butter. And we were doing that to see if it would break our intermittent fast. Well, it was a pretty definitive test, but we got a lot of comments under that saying that wasn't a fast. You were consuming calories and any calories. And
there's some strong opinions out there.
Yeah. So we wanted to take this video and go over some of the researchers, the prominent researchers.
Right. So we need to just kind of explain. So fasting isn't just one thing, if we talk about, so fasting is typically you are limiting yourself to a particular food or no food or just water. So, you can have a water fast, you can have a juice fast, you can have a fat fast, any number of, fasts. You can have a caloric fast where you're not taking in any calories. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways to do it. And it does, and fasting's not really a medical term. I mean, it's been around for thousands of years. Humans have been doing it for thousands of years. I mean, we all know that different cultures, different religions, different health practices. I mean, it's been used for a long time.
Sure. Okay. But how did we use it?
So we used it in the context of a ketogenic diet, doing an intermittent fast. And we'll talk about kind of some of the ins and outs of that terminology too, because that's a lot of variation in that as well. So we're looking at specifically being in ketosis and doing an intermittent fast. So if we're doing like a 16-8, we're not eating anything other than fat, right? Proteins and carbs, until our lunchtime meal. So we're going from evening meal before, night before, lunchtime meal. And the basis that we have to test those things is our glucose and our ketones. So some of you have asked about insulin. I'm not going to test insulin because while I'm okay pricking my finger, I'm not going to get a needle draw and go to a lab, okay?
Yeah, nor am I.
Yeah, well, I have a limit. I have a limit. I like you guys, but come on. So, the premise is that if your glucose goes up, you're going to get an insulin response, okay? And if your ketones go down, it's kind of the same thing. You're affecting that liver metabolism somehow, okay? So that's why we kind of focused on those two things. And we got a lot of people who disagreed with that. But that was really the basics. It's just the basics. We're only looking at being in ketosis. We're not looking at any of the other things. And there's a lot of other things to look at.
Right. Okay. So so there's a lot of different types of fasting, but there's also a lot of really prominent researchers out there that are really making their mark in the fasting terminology.
Right.
And so they are worth kind of bringing into this conversation.
I think so, yeah. So the one, I guess, to start with, Jason Fong, I'm sure you guys are familiar with him. He wrote the obesity code, followed that up with the diabetes code, talks a lot about fasting in here. He had some really interesting things, and he's kind of the one that I look to for guidance when I'm looking at intermittent fasting. He's a nephrologist. He deals with people with kidney damage, but he talks a lot about how the diabetic connection with that and obesity. And obviously, he wrote the books. So, and his fasting advice, is more kind of along the lines of ours. In fact, he kind of equates. He had stated this at one point, that he equates fasting and a ketogenic diet as kind of 2 points on the same spectrum. and that he believed that a ketogenic diet could actually get you about 70% of the way to all the benefits you would get by, fasting, complete fasting. And even made the comment that, you may be able to get into autophagy by eating, having like 3 bulletproof coffees a day. Now, I'm gonna throw this in there that I think that some of the researchers who are studying autophagy have probably disproved that. That was just kind of his theory. But it goes along to say that a high-fat diet, when you are not stimulating insulin, because insulin, if you read his books, insulin is the thing. That is the thing he's concerned with. And so that's why we concerned ourselves with that with our tests.
Right,
Okay?
right. And we're usually looking at fasting as a weight loss tool. So
Exactly.
above
yeah.
everything.
And before we go any further, I do want to say that obesity and being overweight, I think, is the most important thing that you've got to deal with. There are a lot of other little things that we'll talk about, and they're good things, but it's kind of getting lost in the minutiae sometime and not seeing the big picture. You get so wrapped up in these little things, and you can go down rabbit holes all over the place. You talk about the science that's going on here.
Right.
So.
Right. Get the weight off, and your health will improve exponentially.
Another researcher, and a lot of people talked about this, Sachin Panda. Now, what he does not consider himself a fasting researcher. He is not researching fast, and that's I had a lot of comments about this too. He is really concerned with. He does a lot of research on mice, and sometimes they've been able to do some crossover study with some small human populations. So, not all mice, not all rodent studies transfer over, but he's really concerned with circadian rhythm and how feeding and circadian rhythm are interconnected. So he's found some really interesting things that with at least a 12-hour fast, you can actually improve lean mass, improve fat loss, improve heart health, and if he even has some evidence with rodents that if you stretch that time out to like 15 hours fasting, and you're eating in a 9-hour window, that you can actually improve some aerobic capacity. Again, this is in rodents,
Right.
so we don't know exactly if it transfers over. But that's called time-restricted feeding.
Right.
It doesn't consider that fasting. And they also consider the fact that even anything other than water, first sip of coffee, that starts your clock for your feeding window. Okay? So, that's a little tough to do. And I have a lot of questions about the circadian rhythm because, we are at different times of the year. Sometimes we only have, 7 hours of daylight, it seems, and other times we've got, 15, 16 hours of daylight, it seems. So I'm not sure how that'll all translate out into human studies. I know they did one study where they took some people and they had them, I believe they had a 12-hour feeding window, but they ate at 12 hours and then they waited another 12 hours and ate again. So they had like a 12-hour period in between there.
Right.
And they found that they had, I think, a 4 or 5% loss in body weight. When they went back through and extrapolated all the data, they found out that these people actually reduced their caloric intake by 30%. So again, that kind of
Without even trying.
right. It kind of
Right,
negates
just naturally.
like saying is it the time restricted feeding? Is it just the caloric thing? So
Right.
I don't know.
Right, and really the 12-hour fast is really something that is really built into our program because the 0, 1, 2, 3 strategy that you get in the starter kit, the 3 stands for 3 hours before bed, stop
Right.
eating. And with his research in the circadian rhythm, that was actually, he found some evidence that was actually the most important time to be starting your
That's right.
fast.
That's right.
Because it worked with the circadian rhythm, you actually got more benefits by not eating late at night rather than eating late at night and then extending your
Right.
fast through the
Right.
day.
And nighttime eating is a big issue. He's got some research coming out too about people who are shift workers and how that really messes metabolism up.
Yeah.
So, but the last guy that, we hear a lot about in the comments is Dr. Valter Longo. Valter.
You got it. Yep.
Right. He is the Department of Longevity, I believe it is, at USC, Southern California. He came up with what he calls a fasting mimicking diet, where he put together this diet, and I know he's done lots of research that mimics the effects, the beneficial effects of fasting, and they've actually trademarked that, and they now he's teamed with a company, El Nutra, and they actually send this to clinicians so you can run this diet in your clinic with patients who need to lose weight. The fasting mimicking diet is kind of interesting too, because it's I wouldn't consider it even a low carb diet.
I know it is kind of. I thought it was surprisingly high in carbs.
Yeah, he supposedly can get all the effects of fasting, and basically breaks down to 5 days of fasting a month. And when I say fasting, it's 5 days of fasting mimicking diet, not fasting. The first day one is 1,100 calories, and I think it's 54% fat.
Okay.
Okay. The other 4 days go down to 800 calories, but your fat percentage dropped to 46%, or 46%, I believe. Those are not even what I would consider low carb.
Right. Certainly not in the keto range.
Right. Right. So, I don't know. I'm not a researcher to these guys, level at all.
Yeah.
But, that's certainly low calorie, right?
Right.
Low calorie diet, to a caloric deficit there.
Right. Yeah. So those are some different takes on fasting and what it means. When we look at it on our channel, I guess we take it as a in the context of weight loss.
Absolutely.
And controlling your insulin levels.
Right, and
during
staying
your
in
fast.
ketosis.
Yeah.
Those are the important things.
Yeah. So let us know your thoughts. That we just kind of wanted to film that to kind of get some perspective on how we look
Please
at
don't
things.
beat me up anymore.
Poor guy. All right. Hey, thanks for watching, and please subscribe to our channel. We'll be back soon with some more videos to help you reach your goals. Thanks.
Yep, we'll see ya. Oh. Gosh, I'm not going to be able to see anything. I'm going to have to keep these here. Does that look bad if I have to put my reading glasses on?
Well, you're 57 years old, honey.